buddy. Oh, hey guys, you're already on the couch, man. I'm so glad you're back and hang out with me. You got to see this thing. She's so hilarious. Here, watch.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
Hey guys, welcome back to the couch. You know, just the other day I was at Dillon's, and it wasn't one of those marathon trips where I loaded up on everything, you know, like the best kind of chips, taquitos, salt and vinegar, Star Crunch, Little Debbie's. No, for this trip it was just there to pick up a few essential items for Courtney for dinner. And about halfway back to my car, I noticed a $20 bill on the ground. Feel free to judge me all you want, but these are the thoughts that went through my head. 1, just ignore it, leave it, whoever drops it will come back to look for it. No, ignore thought number 1, just take it. God gave you a special $20 gift from heaven. You need to take this inside and give it to the manager. Surely someone will come back and look for it. Better me than someone else, right? It's in the parking lot. It's not like someone dropped it by the register. If it were that big of a deal to them, they wouldn't have lost it to begin with. And if I take it back in, the employee will probably just keep it for himself anyway, right? Is anybody really ever going to give back cash? Those are the things that go through my head. So basically, my brain had an argument with itself. Plus, I was in a rush with all these options, and the question blaring in my mind was this: what should I actually do? Some of you would confidently say, take it back to the manager, that's the right thing. Others would say, take the money. It's not a moral issue, finders keepers. And some of you constantly skeptical people are trying to figure out in your own mind if this is some late night prank where they film you and then they out you for being selfish, right? So here's what I'm getting at. Knowing what to do isn't always simple in the moment. And that's what we're talking about in this series, the what to do when you don't know what to do. Today we're going to look at the dilemma of what to do when we don't know what is right and what is wrong. It'd be nice if doing the right thing was always clear and obvious, right? But we all know that this isn't always the case. Sometimes the right thing isn't always obvious. If you're dating somebody, but you're texting someone else a lot and you're like, well, I'm not cheating on them. We're just texting at 2 a.m. That's not wrong, right? Or is it? If your teammate's going on about how the coach is a jerk and bench them for no reason, but you know they really need to work on their passing game, is it wrong to tell them? It hurt for sure, but is it wrong to not tell them if they're fixing that one thing would get them more time in the game? Or if you have a friend who's doing something that really bothers you and you don't know if you should talk to them about it or not. You're wondering, if I confront them, am I just going to look like a jerk? Is this my issue or is it their issue? Should I just get over it? What even is the right thing in these situations? Sometimes the right thing costs us something. Once I decided to return that $20 bill to the customer service desk, I knew it would cost me something. Specifically, it cost me $20. On top of that, I had to spend time going back in the store and having that conversation. Maybe in our lives, you know the right thing is to be honest with your parents. But if you're honest with them, you'll probably lose your phone. Maybe even for the rest of your life. You know the right thing isn't to be in that relationship anymore. But if you break up, you'll be single and alone. You know the right thing isn't to let somebody cheat off your test. But if you say no, then somehow you'll feel like the loser. And it costs you socially. You know the right thing is to decline when someone offers you that drink, but it seems like everybody else who's drinking is having fun. Saying no will cost you a good time and maybe even a good story to tell on Monday. Ooh. I don't know, guys. But do you see what I mean? Sometimes what's right feels complicated. Even when we do know what's right, sometimes it's difficult to actually do it. So with that in mind, let's pick back up with Joseph. For the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about this guy who was one of the most famous people in early history, and his story is wild. Like sold into slavery by your own brother's wild. And what we're going to look at today can be a game changer for all of us. It'll help us know what to do when we don't know what to do. We left off last week with Joseph sold into slavery, and we pick up this week with what happened afterward. We're told Joseph was given to work in the house of an officer for Pharaoh. And Pharaoh, he was like a king, an emperor, and a president all rolled into one. Whatever Pharaoh said, that's what happened, period. So you can imagine working for one of Pharaoh's important officials was kind of stressful. Depending on the situation, it could either go really well or really bad. And there was no telling what situation Joseph was going to walk into. But like we mentioned last week, the author was quick to point out that God was with Joseph and he had favor with the official. This official's name was Potiphar. That means that Potiphar was a fan of Joseph's. So now let's pick up the story, and here you go. The Lord is with Joseph so that he prospered and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and all of that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except food that he ate. Genesis 39, 2-6. Things weren't so bad for Joseph because Potiphar trusted him. And things were bad for Potiphar because Joseph in charge was thriving. But when things took a weird turn next. Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." So this tells us two things. Apparently Joseph was a pretty hot, good-looking guy, right? And his boss's wife noticed. Now this is where things got complicated because Joseph was a servant. Because of that, he was required to obey not only Potiphar, but also his wife. And if he refused her commands, there was nothing holding her back from punishing him. He could be kicked out of her household, which was really a better place than any other place to be. Or even it could cost him his life. But if he did what she asked, that would create a whole set of problems. Because she was married to his boss. Both options came with problems, and it wasn't easy or clear. So what did Joseph do when he didn't know what to do? Well, listen to the next part of the story. He refused. With me in charge, he told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. Genesis 39. Basically, out of respect for Potiphar and out of even bigger respect for God, Joseph simply did the next right thing. Joseph didn't want to make a decision based on how things might turn out for him, like losing his job or even his life. He made a decision based on what was right. And what was right in that moment was turning down Potiphar's wife. It was complicated, it was challenging, but it was the right thing to do. It wasn't exactly like his wife was perfect as a result of, his life was perfect as a result of making the right choice. In fact, things got worse. Potiphar's wife falsely accused Joseph of rape. Potiphar believed his wife and had Joseph thrown into prison. Not exactly the happy ending you're hoping for when you do the right thing. But Joseph didn't make his decision based on what it meant for him. He did what was right with God and trusted God with the outcome. The outcome for Joseph in this situation wasn't great, but there's a word I want you to know that changes everything when it comes to doing what's right. And that word is integrity. Maybe you've heard that word before. Integrity means being the kind of person who does what's right, regardless of the outcome, regardless of who's around. Sometimes doing the right thing will get you an applause. Yay! Sometimes it won't. Sometimes doing the right thing will cost you something, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes doing the right thing will make you look good, and sometimes it'll make you look stupid. But we don't get to decide how things turn out. What we get to decide is what kind of person we want to be. And being a person of integrity will lead to a life with less regret, more respect, and a better idea of what to do in every situation. Chances are we'll never find ourselves in the kind of situation Joseph was in, but we will find ourselves in all kinds of situations where we'll have to decide what to do without knowing how it will play out. It could be better than we thought, or it could be worse. But when we make our decisions with integrity based on what is right, we are living lives we can be proud of. So here's one thing we can remember. When you don't know what to do, do the next right thing. Try this. Number one, think of one situation where you know the right thing to do but are afraid to do it. What are you afraid of? If fear wasn't a factor, what would you do? Number two, to determine what kind of person you want to be. I'm not talking 5 years from now. What kind of person do you want to be this week or even today? What do you need to do today that will set you up to be the kind of person who respects themselves and can be proud of their decisions? Not because they're easy, but because they're right. Here's the deal. Most of us know the right thing to do in most situations, but fear keeps us from acting on how we know we should do, on what we should do. More than that, fear and inaction keep us from becoming who we want to be right now. That's why learning to live with integrity, living in a way on the outside that matches what we believe on the inside, it's the most direct route being who we want to be. But that doesn't always make it easy. So the next 2 steps we created for you, taking the final step to do what you need to do in mind. Remember these things. 1, tell somebody the next right thing that you're going to do. 2, invite them to pray for you, and then ask you this week how you're going to do it and how you did. That's how we live lives of integrity, not knowing the next right thing and then doing the next right thing, and inviting someone else to come alongside of us. Do the next right thing doesn't have to be lonely venture. Invite someone to your story. There's strength that shows up when you allow someone to show up with you. That's why we have small groups, guys. But we all need a group of people who will help us figure out the right thing in complicated situations. That's why the conversations you have in group are often more important than anything we can say from this couch, because those conversations are specific to you and your life. So as you head out today, think about the situation where you need to do the next right thing. Think about exactly what you need to do, but just know you don't have to do this alone. You can tap into the help of God and the help of others. When you don't know what to do, do the next right thing. Okay, guys, we're going to go into our small groups, and I want you to remember that what we're talking about is doing the next right thing. It's not about morality or making yourself look better or any of those things. It's about doing the will of God in your life and following the direction that He's set forth. It's about having the power of the Holy Spirit guide you in the walk of faith that we have and being a good witness in our lives. So it's about God, it's about the Holy Spirit, it's about Him. It's not really about us, but we have a choice and a thing that we do need to do. And then having someone accountable to us, us being accountable to somebody that we know that next week is going to say, okay, you said you were going to do this right thing. Did you do it? And so that's what this is about. All right, guys, go into your small groups, and I will see you guys next week right here on the couch. Love you guys.